You know, it's amazing how even the simplest children's story can hold the exact blueprint for a grand adventure. Today, we're going to break down a classic game of hide and seek to really see the timeless structure of a great story, the anatomy of an adventure, and, believe it or not, the pretty deep moral questions it can bring up.
So first up, let's meet our heroes. We've got James, his sister Sally, and their best friend Mark. And like so many great stories, this one doesn't kick off with some huge event. Nope, it starts with a problem we can all relate to. They're just bored.
Every great adventure needs a setup. It's what writers call the exposition, which is really just a fancy way of saying we're learning the who, what, and where. For our trio, it's a beautiful spring night, they're hanging out outside, and they have absolutely nothing to do. And right here, this is the spark. This is our inciting incident. It's not some crazy explosion or a mysterious map. It's just a simple idea to play a game. But this one little decision, it's the first domino that's about to set this whole wild adventure in motion.
With that classic line, the countdown is over and the game is on. Mark covers his eyes, James and Sally take off, and just like that, the normal, everyday world starts to fade into the background. The adventure has officially begun.
Okay, so now we're getting into what's called the rising action. This is the part of the story where things start to get messy, the original plan goes out the window, and the stakes start to get a whole lot higher. This simple little game is about to turn into a real problem.
And here's our first complication. Mark finds James pretty easily, just like you'd expect. But Sally, she's nowhere, and that's weird. Suddenly the fun of the game starts to disappear, and you can feel this tiny knot of worry starting to form.
So the boys start calling her name, and you can just hear the shift in their voices, right? They're not playing by the rules of the game anymore. This is a real plea. But all they get back is silence. And that silence is way more terrifying than any shout could ever be.
And look at this. You can just feel the entire mood of the story change. The fun is completely gone, replaced by real, genuine panic. This isn't hide and seek anymore. This is a search party. Their friend is actually missing.
So now we switch over to Sally's point of view, and wow, she isn't just a great hider. She's in serious trouble. She crawled under this old tree trunk and accidentally tumbled into a dark hole. She looks up, sees the stars, and it hits her. She's trapped, she's alone, and she's in some kind of cave.
This brings us to the climax. This is the absolute peak of the tension in our story. Everything that's happened so far has been leading to this very moment, where the main problem, finding Sally, has to be dealt with right now.
And here's where it all comes together. The boys hear Sally crying out, and they finally find the hole. And in this really brave moment, Mark totally steps up. He sprints off to get help while James stays behind to try and comfort his sister. The rescue mission is on.
But wait a minute, just when you think things are about to get resolved, this story hits us with another twist. While Sally's waiting in the dark, she finds something. Her terrified shout just adds this whole new layer of mystery and fear. What else could possibly be down there with her?
Whew, okay, help is here. Mark's dad rappels down into the cave, and in this single moment, this reassuring hug, you can just feel all that tension release. Sally has been found. She's okay.
And then, bam, the story drops this huge reveal on us. The something in the cave wasn't a monster or some scary animal. It was a treasure chest, literally overflowing with gold and jewels. This adventure just went from a rescue mission to a mind-blowing discovery.
Okay, so let's get into the falling action. The big climax is over, but the story is far from finished. Now our characters have to deal with the consequences of what they found, and a totally new, much more complicated problem starts to take shape.
Finding this treasure immediately creates a moral dilemma. You've got the kids, whose first reaction is just pure joy. We're rich! And then you have the adult, whose mind goes straight to caution and responsibility. This sets up a whole new battle, not one of physical danger, but of character.
So they choose to do the responsible thing and hand the treasure over to the police. But just look at the mood here. All that excitement is gone, replaced by this sad, quiet car ride. It's a great reminder that doing the right thing, well, it doesn't always feel great in the moment.
So weeks pass, and then the phone rings, and the message they get is kind of strange and not great. They're told there's bad news. It's this one last little bit of suspense, making the kids and us think that their good deed ended up costing them everything.
And that brings us to the end, the resolution.
This is where all the loose ends finally get tied up, and we find out what this whole adventure was really all about. While it turns out the bad news was just a clever little twist. The police show up, but they're not there to confirm the treasure is gone, they're there to give it back. They did a whole investigation, couldn't find an owner, so by law, it belongs to Sally. Their integrity paid off.
But this line, this warning from the police captain, this is the real heart of the story. The adventure was never just about finding treasure. It was about learning what you're supposed to do with it.
And wow, Sally puts that lesson to work immediately. She doesn't hoard it for herself. Nope, she splits it 6 ways. She shows gratitude to the parents who helped, fairness to her friends who were there for her, and amazing generosity to her community.
And in the end, the story makes it crystal clear that the real treasure was never the gold or the pearls. It was the loyalty of friends who wouldn't give up on her, the courage of a boy who ran to get help, and the integrity of a girl who did the right thing and chose to share her good fortune.
So a simple game of hide and seek leaves us with this really profound question. It makes you think, doesn't it? What kind of responsibility comes with good fortune, whether you earn it or just stumble upon it? And how would you choose to share it? What does that responsibility really mean to you?